All right, let's get started. So this is an open house about getting recruited to college, what I have to offer, what things that parents ask me when they want to know why they should hire me. What do I bring to the table to make the experience of improving on the erg that much better, that much more successful? So, a lot of you may know me, but here we go. I started rowing at age 13. Luckily, I had elite coaches around me who taught me how to pay attention to my technique. I went to the Junior World Championship. I set an indoor rowing world record. That got me recruited to Brown University, where we stayed undefeated. And after Brown, I went on to winning an Olympic gold and silver medal, totaling 3 participation at Olympic Games. And after that, I started an indoor rowing studio, which I really enjoyed, but I came to realize that I couldn't duplicate myself. And the broadband YouTube started up, and then I realized I can actually coach people worldwide. And I started really focusing on high school rowers who want to get recruited to college, because getting recruited to college is a life-changing experience. It was for me. It was a dream come true to get recruited to college, to Brown University. And that is thanks to the ERG score that I had. Sure, my results on the water were in a way significant, but in the end, the ERG score counts a lot. So there you have it. That is who I am. And now I'm going to read a couple of these questions that parents may have to find out what I have to offer. So I wrote them down. How do you address the physiological barriers that high school rowers face during their 2K tests? Well, what's really interesting is that physiological barriers are the result of how training is performed. Now, I realize that you cannot take over, I cannot take over how they train at the club. So, what I provide is knowledge how to utilize any little bit of extra time that the high schooler has to improve their technique, to improve their aerobic capacity, to improve their max power output. I explain how to utilize the time better, even the time warming up before going to crew and then afterwards. Because the ratio of coach to oarsman is so lopsided. There's so many more oarsmen or oarswomen in a rowing club that questions are not really answered that easily because of the sheer volume of people. So, I'm there to do this. I'm always there 24/7, and if I don't answer the phone, it's because I'm asleep. But my phone is always in my pocket, not while I'm asleep. Then it's on my night table. Can you provide insights into how you help juniors rowers overcome physical plateaus in their training? Okay. It's interesting. The lowest hanging fruits for more speed, believe it or not, it's actually technical. So I hear it often from parents that their child does a really good job on the water and they're technically really good, but then on the erg it doesn't mirror that at all. And so I get to see them row on the erg, and then I explain what they do well and what can be improved with a set of interesting drills that, depending on what the rower does, is then tailored to their particular issue, which makes them rowing on their own and observing themselves in the mirror that much more interesting, because they get to self-coach. And as soon as you have an athlete, no matter what level they are, and they can self-coach, that's the ultimate. But let's make sure I answer this. Okay, plateaus. And so the second part, so there's a technical aspect to it. But the plateau is also a physiological issue. And there it becomes really interesting. I do help individuals understand rest, what to eat, what to drink, how to approach training sessions at the club. Is it really that important to try and beat yourself into the ground for every single piece that there is, or is there a broader way to look at the overall training? So managing expectations and being able to teach how to throttle is a great way for high school rowers to manage their ability to get stronger, build their aerobic capacity. Let's go to the third one. How do you ensure that each individual junior rower receives personalized attention and coaching to address their specific needs and goals? You know, it's interesting. I have the luxury to coach individuals. Hats off to the coaches at the clubs who are trying to coach everybody. So I sit here in my, I was going to say ivory tower, but it's too many green plants here. I sit here and I coach in real time, and I coach seeing footage, and I coach exchanging text messages with the entire family. So me being able to pay attention to the individual is what I do. Okay, so for high school rowers who may hear coaching feedback, which then sometimes may not be directly directed at them, but they hear it and it may sound a little cryptic. Oftentimes I get that type of message, and then I translate it by really using that information and making it so that the individual that I coach gets the most out of that information that they heard from the club coach. And then, of course, I add more information to that as well. Let's see, the next one. What strategies do you employ to help junior rowers improve their ERG score to reflect their performance on the water? Okay. I have videos about seat racing. I have videos about pacing on the rowing machine. And I also ask the rowers, how do they approach their pacing, their training? How do they visualize to get ready for racing? So what I learned throughout the years as an athlete myself, and then me being the coach and communicating and really using a two-way street of information, is how we get to the most productive way of planning and helping athletes, the rowers, perform better and better, both on the water and on land, that's for sure. Okay, let's see what else. How do you tailor your coaching approach to fit the individual needs and goals of each junior rower? I always ask, what amount of time is available for a rower to put in some extra strokes, do certain exercises, not even sitting on the rowing machine, visualize, use a mirror. If there are weights around, when can you do that without impacting your sleep or your time that you need to spend doing homework? By communicating with the rowers and the parents, there are more options. By discussing it, the rower ends up seeing that there are more options on how to succeed at, ultimately, getting a faster ERC score. There is more than one way to do it. And there's certainly more than one way to keeping it really interesting. Let's see what else. What measures do you take to create supportive and inclusive team environment for junior rowers? Now this is interesting. Since I coach on the individual basis, I explain how the individual can more positively interact with the team, how to ask the right questions to the coach, how to talk to the coxswain in order to bring out the best possible outcome, whether it's on land or in the boat. So my it's kind of a joke now. Since I'm Swiss, the Swiss are known to be very diplomatic. But throughout the years living in different countries, having had different coaches, you learn to communicate, to use information, to understand criticism, and turn everything into a positive. Everything gets turned into a positive because the goal is to get faster, and the only way to do that is to stay positively inclined in doing that. So teaching the rowers how to interact with the team leads to an amazing amount of synergy. So that's what I do when it comes to teams. What measure do you take to create supportive and inclusive? I said that. How do you assist junior rowers in setting and achieving both short-term and long-term goals? Well, for one, it's really important that the rower actually knows the difference between a short-term goal and a long-term goal. Now, for the ERC score, it's pretty cutthroat. It's pretty clear. There comes a time in spring, if you're lucky, in late spring, where the ERC score has come to the point where it's recruitable. That's one thing. But short-term goals can also be technical. What do you want to achieve technically in a short term? What do you want to achieve physiologically in the short term? And the short term has to be a building block for the long term. And honestly, it's through discussion, through talking about what is being done at the club, how I experience training, that information comes out organically. Through interacting, we make high school rowers more confident in themselves, more aware of their surroundings, and more capable to handling the fairly common bumps in the road. I don't want to use the term negative occasions, but how to handle the bumps in the road. They're more capable of doing that by talking about it. Can you elaborate on your coaching philosophy regarding resilience, discipline, and teamwork? I didn't win the gold medal and didn't get recruited to Brown if I hadn't had those three. Okay, resilience, discipline, and teamwork. Even in the single scull, I was part of a team. And my coach, my family that supported me. The resilience goes without saying. You describe to somebody who's new in the sport what resilience is. And oftentimes, being resilient doesn't mean you have to take one bite out of an entire workout in order to show resiliency. You learn to piece it together. You understand, as a high school rower, that being resilient doesn't mean that you have to be at the top of your game all the time. That's not what resilience is. Resilience and discipline is to do it and to listen to the body, to understand what the result is, and to keep pushing forward. That's resiliency. The discipline and resiliency go hand in hand. I think what I find really interesting is I have a lot of gallows humor because, after all, in rowing you can't escape the obvious. It's gonna hurt. That's for sure. It's gonna hurt. But the beauty is, someone else's hurt is not at the same level as what you can produce at your hurt. So the whole goal is, when you're hurting or when I'm hurting, we are a length and a half ahead. Or we are 15 seconds ahead. It's gonna hurt. Everyone hurts the same amount, right? But with the right amount of humor and work done towards it, it becomes a surprisingly fulfilling experience. Fulfilling experience. It definitely is. It makes us amazingly resilient. And as the white in my beard has now appeared on my face, I can tell you that rowing has made me an extremely resilient person, goal-oriented, and there is nothing that I don't think I cannot achieve, even if that makes me move forward very slowly. There's the goal, and I will go for it, baby step at a time if I need to. Let's have a look what's the next question. How do you integrate technology and data analysis to optimize training and performance for juniors? Okay, so obviously we're using Zoom. So when I coach, I record the session, and then the rower re-watches it and redigests the information. And real-time coaching is quite fun because there's always some funny story about anything. There's not one coaching session that I'm thinking, well, this one was like the other one. Never. That's the beauty of it. Yes, technology. Rarely used really, other than splits on the water in clubs. But they're tools to use. Tools to make sure that the training is done at the right level of intensity. I actually have the training zone assessment test. So the training zone assessment test is something that every rower should have. They need to know their training zones. So the TZAT, I use the term TZAT, training zone assessment test. I'm really proud of that. And that's accessible. That's accessible for most rowers, because a lot of my coaching gets a little pricey. But the training zone assessment test is in reach and extremely helpful, because the groundwork needs to be done by knowing the training zones. The other accessible coaching service that I have is called the Stroke. And there I have 2 reviews of the rowers' rowing technique 3 weeks apart. So on the first one, I explained the 2 most important technical issues that need to be taken care of. And then 2, 3 weeks later, I explained the progress or whether there's more work to be done. Again, this is very helpful for rowers to learn themselves how to self coach. So important. All right. So, how do you integrate technology? Can you share example of how you help junior rowers navigate the college recruitment? Okay. So college recruitment. I work with someone who I send rowers to whose ERG score are not the absolute top. Okay. People who are in the absolute top with their ERG score will go and get recruited among the top men and women together, about 18 schools, 16 schools. All right. 16 schools in the United States really look for the top ERG score. We improve everybody's ERG score. The ones that don't necessarily fit into those top 18 schools, men and women included, they have a plethora of great schools with great rowing programs, Division 2, Division 3, that I have no clue about. I mean, I specialize in ERG, okay, rowing. So I work with someone from Chicago, and she has the knowledge of all these other schools with scholarships for women and men, the few that there are. But she knows it. And when I work with people, I send them to her. Okay? That's how I help. For the top 18 schools, I give some hints as to how to ask questions when you see the coaches. Because it's a two-way street. The coaches interview the rower, but the rower also interviews the coaches. Is this really a school I want to spend 4 years at and be happy? You learn that by talking to the coaching staff. All right. How do you ensure that junior rowers receive exposure to a variety of college rowing programs beyond the traditional recruitment methods? Okay, that's an easy one. Email, send your ERG score, send video of yourself on the ERG. That's it. Okay, that's how easily you can get in touch with people. And you'll get a response. The squeaky wheel does get a response, but you want to have a positive response. So the better the ERG score, the more positive the response. So this is it for the questions. This summer, there are rowers' parents who organize the summer for rowing camps. And that is something that the rowers enjoy. Maybe they don't like to train on their own. And they enjoy being with a team and going out on the water and experiencing something else. The one thing that's missing in those rowing camps is truly high quality technical feedback that I provide on the ERG. So while somebody is at a rowing camp, being able to get feedback from me is easy. You just get another coaching package on top of being at the rowing camp, and then I make sure that the ERG technique is properly done. There's no difference between the school year and summertime, when in summertime it's two a days, but there's always time to send footage for me to look at, take a few strokes on the rowing machine to make sure the efficiency on the water is as close to perfect as possible. That's it. That's what I've got. I look forward to hearing some more questions. And good luck. Sign up for some of my coaching packages: A-Boat, International, Performer Plus, the TZAT, the stroke. We're going to make your son or daughter faster. We're going to make you faster. And it's going to be an exciting time, because it's a dream come true to get recruited to college. Over and out. And over and out.